Sorry. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Climb the Pocket YouTube page. We have another fun video today. We're going over bold predictions for 2020 fantasy football. And, of course, our signed Kenny Golladay jersey giveaway. Ryan, go ahead and show it off. There it is. One lucky listener will win that jersey today on the episode. So stay tuned throughout the video to listen to who wins it. Like I said, we're going over bold predictions today, so it's definitely going to be some hot takes, but things that could happen, most likely won't happen, but maybe we want them to happen. Who knows? They could happen. It's fantasy football. Anything can happen. Did I say happen enough? Because I definitely did. Ryan, what's going on, man?
Well, Steve, 2 videos, 2 days. We're getting into it. We're under, I think, 43 days till the NFL season starts, so this is getting down to where you need to kind of finish your research and have the guys that you want on your fantasy team. So I'm excited to put more content out there every single week. It's great talking to you twice since I missed you last week, and I'm ready to get into it.
Yeah, some big news out of the NFL. We see Damian Williams opts out, so that's definitely CEH to the moon, as tweeted by you earlier. Other guys like Devin Funchess for the Packers, some key offensive linemen for the Giants, for the Chiefs. I'm sure we'll see a few more before that August 3rd deadline. They will definitely impact, certain fantasy players this year, so everyone stay tuned. We'll definitely report that news on our upcoming videos, but hey, let's get into the videos. Our bold predictions for 2020 fantasy football. And hey, if you're not a subscriber yet, why don't you subscribe? Definitely appreciate you following the channel, watching our content right now. Like this video. It helps us grow, and we would definitely appreciate that. And as always, drop a comment below of your bold predictions. Let's go ahead and move on to the bold predictions. My bold prediction number 1, the tight end 1 is not named George Kittle or Travis Kelce. And I know this one hits home to you because you're such a big George Kittle fan. And it seems like these guys are in their own tier, and they really are. But I just want everyone to know that this year, I think more than other years, and I feel like we say this a lot, tight ends, they're stacked. I think they're pretty stacked. There's some guys with some pretty high potential that are going outside the top 12. Guys that I think could finish as the top tight end is the third tight end going off the board, or maybe the fourth. I don't know if it's Zach Ertz or Mark Andrews, but I'm going with Mark Andrews for the Ravens. I think if his snap percentage is going to go up this year now that they got rid of Hayden Hurst. I think he's a guy that can be on the field, and his efficiency might not be there, but he'll definitely be on the field more. So he's going to have more yardage, possibly the same amount of touchdowns. So I like Mark Andrews as that guy. I'm a big Tyler Higbee fan. If he can do what he did last year at the end of the year and continue that even at 80%, he's going to be the tight end 1, and I'd be really excited because you're getting him in the late 6th, early 7th round right now. Don't want his ADP to go much higher, but hey, if you get him right there and he finishes as a tight end 1, he could be a league winner for you. Other guys we're talking about, maybe Noah Fant, maybe TJ Hawkinson. There's guys that can make that tight end 1 push. We know George Kittle is going to be involved in the passing game a lot, but he has limited upside because he's a very good pass blocker for the team. And who knows? Maybe Travis Kelce, maybe this is his year that he doesn't finish as the tight end 1. So I like that as my first bold prediction. Let's go ahead and move on to your first bold prediction. It involves a quarterback from Green Bay.
Listen, Steve, this is your boy. Yeah, I think Aaron Rodgers finishes as QB3 this year. And before I get a comment from somebody angry in the chat, that they've got no weapons, it doesn't matter. It's the A-Rod's revenge tour. I mean, he lost his girl. He was talking about taking. Did you see his interview? I think it was with the Ringer podcast, where he was talking about his thought process through the entire draft, and he was like, "There's a couple guys I like." He said he liked. I think he liked T. Higgins a little bit, and he was available, and he was talking about, I think, Ayuk he talked about as well, and then he got a text that just said quarterback, and he said he got up, he got 4 fingers worth of tequila. I don't know how you measure tequila or any drink in fingers, but it sounds like a lot. And Aaron Rodgers is on a revenge tour. This could be an audition for another team this year. He still has Devontae Adams. Aaron Jones is still there catching passes, and he's always efficient. I think he wasn't fully Aaron Rodgers last year. I don't know what the deal was. I don't know if it was before. I don't know if it was being banged up a little bit. Who knows? But Aaron Rodgers will always be that bad dude in the NFL. So I expect him to be quarterback 3 this year. behind Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes in any order. So I'm going out on a limb for him. This could be his final elite season, but I feel good about it.
Love that, Ryan. I love that take. Let's go and move on to my next bold prediction. That's Jared Goff for the LA Rams finishes as a top 10 quarterback, currently going off the board at QB 19. I feel like this is a guy that's just being completely overlooked. I know his ADP last year was a little higher. I know I drafted him in my league as a late round quarterback and kind of got burned because he got off to a slow start. But hey, man, this guy still puts up mad yardage. And yeah, his touchdown upside is limited. But if we're all so, up on Tyler Higbee, Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, there's no way this guy doesn't have a fantastic season if we're all projecting those guys to be top at their position. So I think Jared Goff is going to go for over 5,000 yards, and I think this is the year he cracks 30 touchdowns easy. Certainly not easy, but I think he can get there, and if he goes over 5,000, he's the top 10 quarterback, no doubt. Like I said, Robert Woods, we know this guy's going to get peppered with targets. Hopefully they get Cooper Kupp more involved than he was at the end of the year and more like he was at the beginning of the year. And then they have Tyler Higbee, maybe Gerald Everett gets phased out just a little bit. And these guys are just mad efficient, and Jared Goff is, he's the guy behind making those guys successful. So a lot of people aren't giving Jared Goff the talk that I think he deserves if those other guys are going to be good this year. So Jared Goff, top 10 quarterback. I think he's a good late round flyer. That a guy, like I said, can finish as a top 10 quarterback. Let's go ahead and move on to your next one. That involves JuJu Smith-Schuster.
Yeah, so I think my first take was good for you, but this take is not so good for the other member of Climb the Pocket, Dan, at 360FFB on Twitter. I think JuJu finishes as the second best wide receiver on the Steelers. I think that both James Washington and Deontay Johnson are great in their own right. Deontay Johnson had the highest target separation in the NFL last year. Like, coming into the league, doing that immediately, pretty good. James Washington, he was 11th in yards per reception last year. He had 735 yards, and the catchable ball percentage for him was 99th. It shows that you're a good wide receiver. I don't love what JuJu looked like last year. I mean, he didn't seem as explosive or even like he was having that much fun out there. So I think he even might have finished as wide receiver 3 on the Steelers last year behind those other two guys. So I got 2 cracks at him not being wide receiver 1, and I'm willing to say Deontay Johnson would be the guy between the two.
Yeah, Deontay Johnson, the top rookie wide receiver last year when it comes to yardage, and James Washington is fast in pads. So let's go ahead and move on to my third bold prediction. That's Stefon Diggs on his new team, the Buffalo Bills, finishes as a wide receiver 1, currently going, I think, as wide receiver 28, 29. So he's outside that wide receiver 2 territory, and we've seen this guy finish as a top wide receiver before a wide receiver 1. And he was the guy on the Vikings, but Adam Thielen emerged, and he was kind of like a wide receiver 1A, wide receiver 1B for that team, both of them. And now he goes over to the Bills, where John Brown is certainly there, but Stefon Diggs fits the profile of a wide receiver 1 for a football team much more. And I think just his overall route running, which he's one of the top in the league, and just his catch radius over a guy like John Brown, who certainly has the speed, but Stefon Diggs has it too. And I think if this is the year that Josh Allen, his accuracy does go up, and maybe they lean away from him in the in the red zone rushing those touchdowns, and I think teams are going to spy on him a little more. He's not going to have 9 rushing touchdowns again. I think they're going to look for guys like Stefon Diggs in the end zone, in the red zone, and I think that Stefon Diggs is just a prime target to be like, I honestly am starting to like him more every single day as just a top 15 guy. Now, I certainly won't rank him there because there are questions behind him. He has injury history. He's going to a new team. I don't necessarily like that, but he has the body, the talent. He has the resume from playing on the Vikings, a lot of big boom games, and if he can show a little more consistency on his new team in Buffalo with Josh Allen, who can definitely chuck the ball downfield, Stefon Diggs is a huge downfield threat. And like I said, he'll have a much bigger catch radius. He'll win those one-on-ones. I like Stefon Diggs a lot more and more every single day, just especially where you're getting him, like I said, outside wide receiver 2 value. If you get him there as a wide receiver 3 and he returns wide receiver 1 value, you're absolutely going to be loving that on draft day. So I think that's something that can actually become true. I think a lot of people are just off of Stefon Diggs because of the new team And, I guess going from Kirk Cousins to Josh Allen isn't necessarily a big downgrade. Now, Kirk Cousins has been pretty accurate throughout his career, but him and Stefon Diggs haven't had the best relationship, and he's been pretty boomer bust there. So I like them. I think there's going to be more efficiency as for him as a receiver in Buffalo. And, Stefon Diggs, wide receiver 1, that's a top 12 wide receiver. I think he can definitely hit that. Let's go ahead and move on. Oh, and here we are, the Kenny Golladay signed jersey giveaway. Ryan, go ahead and flash it again. If you're watching, lucky winner right now, you have just won this signed Kenny Golladay jersey. Big Mike Del Corso at MDelCorso18. You are the winner of the signed Kenny Golladay contest. Thank you so much for subscribing and retweeting and spreading awareness of our channel on Twitter. We really, really appreciate that. DM us on Twitter for all the details of letting us get you that jersey. Thank you so much once again. Let's go ahead and move on to your next bold prediction, which involves the Buffalo Bills quarterback, Josh Allen.
Yeah, Steve, you kind of walked me right into this. Josh Allen finishes outside the top 10. I don't like Josh Allen. I put probably my first negative tweet out about a player in probably years, and it was Josh Allen's accuracy earlier. It's bad, Steve. It's really not good. And they pride him on his big arm. That's cool. He was 33rd in deep ball completion percentage. Okay, that's not great. He was 35th in accuracy, and he was 46th in red zone completion percentage. Like you said, 9 touchdowns as a rushing quarterback. That's pretty impressive. It's probably also because they had, the oldest running back of all time as their goal line running back. And Frank Gore couldn't get the job done. So they had to resort to Josh Allen punching it in. They got Zach Moss. I think Zach Moss will be much better. I think he's a much more efficient and not 100 years old. So those are 2 things that I think Zach Moss will be beneficial in the offense. Also, we're in a weird time where coronavirus is going to be prevalent at all times. And unfortunately, John Brown does have the sickle cell trait, and I don't know how it works in conjunction with coronavirus, but I know that there's been games he's had to sit out in Denver where the air's bad and it's tough for them to recover from that if you have the sickle cell trait. So I don't know if he's going to play, and that's a concern because Josh Allen, big arm, that's what he's kind of known for. It's just a concern that you kind of have to watch. It's an unfortunate thing. I'm all for players sitting out for their health or the health of the families around them. So, but that has to be taken into account. So I'm really fading Josh Allen this year.
Yeah, you definitely had to throw that shot back at me. I'm glad we lined those up right together. But luckily, to be a wide receiver 1, your quarterback doesn't have to be a wide receiver 1. So it's definitely possible. I think those go hand in hand together. It can happen, but these are bold predictions. Let's go ahead and move on. Aaron Jones repeats as a top 3 running back. And this goes in kind of in segue with what you said about Aaron Rodgers in a bad way for you. So kind of like you just took a shot at me for Josh Allen and Stefon Diggs, kind of take a small shot at Aaron Rodgers. I think that this year that the Packers are going to continue to try to run the ball more. They showed that in the NFL draft by drafting A.J. Dillon. Now, we don't know exactly how involved in the offense he will be. I suspect that he will take some carries away from Jamal Williams. Jamal Williams, obviously a premier pass blocker, but if A.J. Dillon can do similar to what he can do, or even 60% of what he can do, I think he'll find his way on the field. But I think Aaron Jones is just being completely driven down draft boards for all the wrong reasons. I understand that touchdown regression is very welcoming. 19 total touchdowns last year. That is a superb year. I think he's going to finish somewhere around 13, 14 touchdowns. But this guy is their pass-catching running back. He really is. They drafted A.J. Dillon. The guy's a bruiser. Maybe they'll use him on the goal line a little bit. Maybe they won't. But Aaron Jones is really good at getting into the end zone from outside of the 10, outside of the 20. He was extremely good last year. I don't really see why they would go away from him this year. I understand this is, I think this is a contract year for him, so certainly he wants to play well. Maybe the Packers still bring him back next year, but that's why we're talking about 2020 fantasy football. I think that He has more rushing yards this year. I think he continues to be involved in the passing game, and I think he continues to break off large touchdown runs. You watch this guy play. I watch a lot of Packers game. This guy is very good at evading tackles. He's very good at breaking tackles, going for long runs, like I said, from the 30, from the 20. You see that you watch your fantasy app, and you see 32-yard touchdown run from Aaron Jones. Next drive, 28-yard touchdown drive. Like, no one's surprised this guy can make it happen, and right now he's being driven down draft boards. He's currently going as the RB 10 or 11. And if he finishes as the number 3, that's certainly going to be a great value, because right now number 1 is obviously Christian McCaffrey. Then you have Saquon, Zeke. Those guys are kind of in their own little tier. And then you kind of go a little bit further down as you get to the end of the first round. And in order to catch up to those guys like Christian McCaffrey last year would have been like impossible. You would have had to add like a whole nother running back 2 or 3's numbers on top of theirs to get to where Christian McCaffrey was. But I think Aaron Jones can continue to find the end zone. Like I said, 13, 14, maybe 15 touchdowns, if not more. We've seen the ceiling. Matt LaFleur's there. Maybe this is how he wants to run the offense. Maybe he wants to run it through Aaron Jones. We saw him very involved last year. And obviously Devontae Adams was out, and he was very successful when he was out in the passing game especially. But, when other good players are on the field, I think that helps out other players too. I think Aaron Jones is going to be great this year. Top 3 running back, calling it right now. Moving on, your next bold prediction, a wide receiver from the Cleveland Browns.
It's not Jarvis Landry, even though we love Jarvis Landry. Odell finishes as a top 5 wide receiver. The talent's always been there. It's not a talent thing. Last year, he had a core injury. I mean, that's detrimental to being a wide receiver. So it was tough for him to do Odell Beckham Jr. things. He was 87th in target premium. It's tough to make plays when your quarterback can't hit you. And he did lead the league in drops. I don't think mentally he was all there. I don't know if he was mentally ready to be on a new team. I think it was weird for him a little bit. I don't think he was all there. But we saw the blonde hair's back. Odell's got a little bit of his swagger back. And he's got something to prove. The red zone last year, the red zone offense last year was historically bad. I mean, I think Baker Mayfield was worse than Josh Allen in red zone completion percentage, and that's tough to do. So I do think that Odell's going to be in an offense where he catches more than whatever he had. I think 4 touchdowns. Like, he still went over 1,000 yards last year. He finished as the wide receiver 30, and there was a lot working against him. I really do like Odell in a new offensive scheme, and that's why I like him as a top 5 wide receiver. He's got the swagger to be there. If he's mentally ready to be a top 5 receiver again, he'll be fine. I'm not concerned.
Yeah, he's a guy I find I don't really find myself drafting, but he certainly has the talent. I think this year is his last year to really show everyone that he's still a top guy. Otherwise, even next year he's gonna plummet. So let's go ahead and move on. This one might be my boldest prediction. It's not too crazy, but I feel like everyone's so set in stone on the top 3 running backs that this might be pretty bold. Zeke Elliott finishes outside the top 5 running backs. No, I certainly didn't go. I didn't go top 10 or anything like that. That's pretty crazy, but everyone's got him locked in at RB3. And certainly you have those guys that are like, oh, Alvin Kamara, pass catching. Like, we get it. Zeke is the 3rd running back that you should probably take in fantasy football. Yep. But I think he finishes out the top 5, according to my bold prediction, strictly based on the new coach and what they did in the draft. The new coach, Mike McCarthy, comes in. He is the one responsible for the phrase free Aaron Jones. So, yeah, I'm going there. We see Mike McCarthy leave, and Aaron Jones is a stud last year, RB2. Mike McCarthy is going to come in, and just know when you draft Zeke Elliott, and I don't think this is going to happen. I'm just saying it could happen. He could take some of those traits that he had in Green Bay as not wanting to lean on just one running back in the system, and they have a talented running back backing up Zeke and Tony Pollard. So I think it's possible that Tony Pollard sees a little more playing time. And let's talk about those wide receivers. They draft CeeDee Lamb, one of the best wide receiver draft prospects in years, with Jerry Jeudy in this draft as well. Those two are like 1-2 and one of the best we've seen in years as far as prospects go. They have Amari Cooper. They have Michael Gallup, who finished better than Amari Cooper last year in yardage. Like, This is a very good wide receiver group they have. Very good. They have an emerging tight end, possibly in Blake Jarwin. There are targets to go around. Dak Prescott is on the up and up, coming off a fantastic year. Huge monster year from a yardage standpoint. Loves to make stuff happen in the red zone. Zeke's a guy we want to see in the end zone more, but for some reason we don't. He's a guy that's for sure going to get his 20 touches, which is great. But if they aren't leaning on him in the red zone because they have these other options, or Dak wants to make it happen by himself, I think there's a possibility that could continue this year. And if you throw in that mix of the possible Tony Pollard getting mixed in a little bit more, that kind of doesn't bode well for Zeke Elliott. I think I see him finishing more around the RB4, RB5, RB6, more than the RB3. Certainly in drafts, I'll take him as the RB3 because I know that he's so safe. And if I draft him as the RB3 and he gives me wide receivers or RB6, I'm fine with that. It's not that big of a loss. But I'm just saying, he will finish out the top 5 is my bold prediction. Let's go ahead and move on to your final bold prediction for the Chicago Bears.
David Montgomery. He's going to be a top 8 running back this year.
Woo! Ryan, I'm hot. I just started sweating.
Listen, I'm a big D-Mont guy. He got drafted too high last year for fantasy. I think if he was drafted more appropriately, people would be higher on D-Mont. I think a lot of people got scorned by him, and I think the people that didn't get scorned about him are the Chicago Bears. I don't know who's backing up David Montgomery at this point. It's his backfield. And on top of that, his quarterback play is going to be terrible. I really do believe that he's going to see 240 carries. What he does with those, I'm expecting 1,000 yards, and hopefully he adds a little bit more pass catching. I think if Nick Foles is there, he's going to be a lot more efficient because they can't just force David Montgomery to, see 8 guys in the box while Mitch Trubisky's throwing arm punts. I really do think that he's a talented running back, and it's tough to be a good running back year one. I mean, we saw it with Ronald Jones. I do think he's got all the opportunity in the world to be a top 10 running back, especially top 8, because there's not too many bell cows in the NFL. And if you look at how many touches he gets, he's borderline bell cow. I understand Tariq Cohen is catching a lot of passes on third downs, but David Montgomery owns first and second down, and he might be in there on some third downs this year. So D-Mont, he's getting way underdrafted. Even if you think he's not a top 10 guy, he's getting drafted at 16. So I do think his floor feels like running back 12 with just the amount of volume he has.
Yeah, he's definitely being drafted at the end of the RB2 territory. And like you said, them not drafting a running back is just great news for a guy like David Montgomery. We see other teams draft running backs. Like I said, in the Packers, they drafted A.J. Dillon. Brings questions about Aaron Jones.
Yeah.
There are no questions with David Montgomery. He is the running back. They have to improve on what they did last year in the running game. They just have to. He got tons of carries last year. And, he found the end zone a decent amount of times. But he's going to get the touches. Hopefully the team's better. Maybe Nick Foles comes in there and finds an identity for that team. So I think there's a lot of upside with a guy like David Montgomery. So definitely like that pick. Well, there you have it. There are bold predictions for 2020 fantasy football. They might happen. They could happen. They probably won't happen. But hey, think about it. All these situations, the players we brought up, it is a possibility these things happen. And for the positive ones, think about it. You can find some very good value in some of these players, and maybe you should avoid some of the players that we brought up that have some negative, juju about them. No pun intended. Ryan, got any last words for the viewers?
No, I'm good. It's been a pleasure today, and I'm excited to record with you next week, Steve.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to be bold in your fantasy football drafts in the right round. I think that's good advice for everyone. Don't be afraid to be bold. If you feel good about a certain guy and you're really high on him, take that guy. It's fantasy football. You only get to play it once a year. Take your guy. Anyway, thanks for joining us. Subscribe to the channel if you're new and you enjoy our content. Like this video if you like this video. It helps us grow. Really, really appreciate it. Drop a comment below your bold predictions, and until next time, see ya.